Now it finally looks like a real compiler. Hi everyone, in my last video, I showed you that I built my own programming language from scratch. So in this video, I decided to add more features to it. But before that, let's quickly see what I have built so far. Right now, my language supports variables, arithmetic operations, and a print function. These features are good for a beginner level project, but I wanted to make it feel more like a real programming language. So I decided to add if statements and loops. I didn't start with every type of loop. I only implemented the while loop first because its syntax is very similar to an if statement. So I could reuse most of the logic with only a few changes. But when I started coding, I ran into a big problem. Every time I made a small change, the entire project broke. And that happened because my codebase was not well structured. Everything was messy and difficult to maintain. So before adding more features, I first needed to organize my project properly. I created separate folders for each component. For example, the Lexer folder contains all Lexer related files, and I did the same thing for the parser and other parts of the compiler. Then I moved functions out of the main file to make the code cleaner and easier to read. I also created header files for my classes, so the project became more modular and reusable. After restructuring the project, I finally started working on if statements. But when I tried to compile the project, another problem appeared. Because now my project had many files, I had to manually give every single file to the compiler. And as the project grows bigger, doing that manually becomes really annoying. So I installed CMAKE. CMAKE is a build tool that manages the compilation process automatically. I wrote all my build configuration inside the CMake list file, and now I can compile the entire project using a single command. After that, I started working on the while loop, and honestly, it was not that difficult. I mostly reused the if statement code, changed a few things, and the while loop started working. Now it was finally time to test everything. But before testing, I wanted to make one more improvement. At that point, I was manually writing the source file path directly inside main.cpp, and that does not feel like a real compiler. So instead, I changed it to accept the file path from the terminal like this: obsidian main.obs. To do that, I used command line arguments and passed the file path into my file reading function. Then I built the compiler and exported its path so I could run it from anywhere in the terminal. And now let's test it. Here is my main.obs file, and it contains an if statement. Now we pass this file into our compiler and see the results. And finally, now it actually feels like a real compiler. In my next video, I add remaining loops and functions. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and like the video. And I see you in the next one.